Friday, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. I'm Maddie Paul. I know, I have the curly hair today. Everyone, get it out of the way now. The straight hair will come back. We just ran out of time for the heat today. But we're bringing the heat with Inside the Newsroom because here we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area. And my favorite part is we bring in our newsroom staff members to talk about these stories. And they're the same stories that you see every day on our newscasts and online at KELOLAND.com. So many trending stories to get to, especially on a Friday, which is always a busy newsroom time for us. But we want to get started right away with our first trending story. Police gave an update on a Sioux Falls homicide investigation from earlier this week. In a news release, police identified 18-year-old Craig Cleveland Bluebird as the suspect. He faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder and attempted murder. Bluebird is now in jail with a bond of $1 million. His arrest is in connection with the homicide that took place at a Western Sioux Falls apartment complex early on Tuesday morning. Police say 2 women were shot and 1 died, while the other was taken to a hospital and later released. This is the 3rd homicide at Meadowland Apartments this year. And as residents told Carly Phillips, they want more transparency from management.
Cheyenne Groves has called Meadowland Apartments home for the last 5 years.
When I first moved in, it wasn't too bad.
Now she says her perception has changed.
My kids are always concerned about my safety when stuff happens around here, shootings, stabbings, whatever happens around here, because it's just me.
Groves lives here with her 14-year-old granddaughter. They're in a situation where they aren't able to move right now. Groves says she's reported multiple disturbances on the property to management and police.
Whenever I report anything to the office, I'm told to call the cops, to let the cops know. I don't know if they ever follow up on it because whatever's going on doesn't stop.
Groves says late Monday night, just hours before the homicide, she also heard gunshots.
And some officers came from this way, and then there was some on this side, and they said that they had heard the shots. So they told me that just to go into my apartment and keep my door locked.
Hours later, police returned and parts of 41st Street and Marion Road were shut down.
That morning I got up and my granddaughter said, "Grandma, there's SWAT outside." And there was 2 big SWAT vehicles right here.
It's the 3rd homicide that's happened at Meadowland this year.
I keep my door locked at all times.
Right now, living here, do you feel safe?
Not really. That's why I keep my door locked at all times.
Groves says the property needs stronger security and better transparency from management.
It's getting worse, and something needs to be done.
And Carly Phillips joins us now at the digital desk to talk more about this story as we keep learning more and updating this story. But Carly, how were you able to find Groves for this interview? How did you get in contact with her?
Yeah, so my colleague Dan Santella did a story the day before talking about previous calls to that apartment complex, and he actually had Cheyenne, who we talked to for this story, she reached out to him and said that she'd be willing to talk on camera for this. And so then we kind of got that ball rolling, and we were able to meet up with her and connect yesterday and talk.
Yeah, I remember Dan mentioning, because I believe this is the first time we've heard a resident on camera. Dan did a story the day before talking about what he's heard and seen at the apartment complex, and you were there with Cheyenne on camera to talk about it. What kind of tone or dynamic did you want to have for this story going in? And how do you think Cheyenne's interview helped you shape this type of story?
I think people want to know from the people that live there what it was really like, and coming from her, actually remembering the homicide that happened and the other things that had been going on. I think people want that kind of like inside look and hearing from someone who's actually been through it versus, just hearing it like, me talking about, this homicide happened here, but actually hearing it from someone that's actually been living there for several years is kind of a different aspect.
Right. One of my favorite parts, I mean, it's not like a favorite part, but it was an interesting visual, is during her interview, she was able to like point out exactly like where she heard things as she was recounting what she had been through. What do you hope viewers take away from a story like this?
I think just hearing from, what other people are experiencing in a situation like this, it's hard to know what it's like to go through it without being in it. And for Cheyenne, she has been in, like she said, multiple situations and disturbances on the property. And so being able to give viewers kind of a look at what's maybe going on over there is what she was saying is, I think, what I kind of wanted to display.
And she gave a call out towards management at Meadowland Apartments, and we were able to reach out both, honestly, this entire week. But have you heard anything from management at Meadowland Apartments?
We have not yet.
And then what kind of story are you working on tonight? Because you're keeping along the same theme, right?
Yeah, so we'll have an update on our homicide suspect who was arrested. They're going to be talking about it today at briefing, and then I'll have an update about kind of his criminal past and then what led up to the homicide later tonight.
All right. Carly, thank you so much for joining us here and giving us those details. And everyone stick around. We still have a lot to get to on Inside the Newsroom. In fact, we're going to look more at the impacts of the federal government shutdown when we come back after the break. So stay with us. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The federal government shutdown, the longest in American history, is now in its 38th day. Dan Santella caught up with Senate Majority Leader John Thune yesterday for an update from Washington.
In Washington, and certainly during this shutdown, it's often a game of numbers. The filibuster allows a senator to block passage of a government funding measure unless there are 60 votes supporting it. Senate Republicans can't quite advance legislation all on their own unless they throw out the filibuster. Then they'd only need 51 votes.
Obviously, there is a considerable amount of pressure to do that, for sure.
President Donald Trump has made clear his support for doing this, going nuclear with the filibuster. But Thune is resolute against that idea, and he's not alone.
Getting rid of the filibuster is not the answer here, and frankly, there aren't the votes to do it, even if we tried.
Time will tell how long the shutdown persists, but Thune has an idea how it could end.
We have a proposal which we have put before the Democrats, basically, that would fund 3 appropriations bills. By the way, one of which is the ag appropriations bill, and that funds both SNAP and WIC. But if you took those 3 appropriation bills, you could add a new date, which would be later to give us more time to finish our appropriations work.
Expiring health care subsidies have proven to be a sticking point between Republicans and Democrats. Thune, for his part, has promised to vote on these subsidies as part of an agreement to reopen the government. Meanwhile, the country and Thune's home state are feeling the shutdown's impacts.
You've got very soon here in South Dakota and elsewhere around the country, SNAP benefits threatened for what is almost 100,000 South Dakota families between SNAP and WIC.
Tangible impacts of a gridlocked Washington.
And Dan Santella joins us now at the digital desk to talk more about this developing story. But Dan, I want to start off by asking, how'd you come up with your headline for this piece? Thune Nuking filibuster, not the answer here.
Because, I mean, that's been such a big question nationally and with Republican leadership. Would they nuke the filibuster, right? We know where the Republicans stand. They've made that abundantly clear over recent weeks. We know Thune wants to open up the government, has sought to pass the House-passed resolution. And so that's clear. What has been less clear to a degree is how much Senate Republicans would examine nuking the filibuster,
right?
And tossing it out. So I thought that's been my question, just thinking out loud and talking in the newsroom. What do Rounds and Thune have to say about this? Because we've seen the president come out in support of it, and it's a big question. It would dramatically change how the Senate kind of operates.
You were able to cover a lot of elements in this story, whether it was about the filibuster or SNAP and even healthcare benefits. What did you take away the most after your interview with Thune?
He's pretty resolute against nuking the filibuster. And then we've seen much more dramatically from video from, I believe, maybe it was last week on the Senate floor. We know John Thune is a fairly mild-mannered, even-keeled person who doesn't really lose his cool per se in public too often, if ever. I don't know if it would say he lost his cool, but he certainly was speaking and nearly shouting with considerable emotion last week. It's clearly, and he said, I believe, I didn't end up using this quote in the story, but he was saying it's, past the point of silliness, I believe, was what he had said about where it is. And he's clearly not happy with this situation. I don't know if Democrats are either. And I think, we don't know when this might end. Right. We don't. And what could be interesting is the degree to which frustration with airlines and delays, how that impacts Americans, and then how that impacts their representatives in Washington, because we know that is going to start to become a headline motivating story soon, too.
Right. I agree, especially with us having to cover stories like this. But, speaking of coverage right now, you're a part of history with this story as we continue to look at now the longest federal government shutdown in American history. So for you, how has this type of coverage and also the different angles that you've been doing with the federal government shutdown over the last 38 days now, how has this been memorable for you as a reporter?
Well, to a certain degree, when we do stories like this, we're talking about abstractions to a degree. Nuking a filibuster. Okay, what does that mean, right? And then, they need 60 votes to overcome a filibuster, but were they to do that, toss out the filibuster, they'd only need 51. So the game of numbers, right? That's a bit abstract. What is less abstract, what is very real, is the uncertainty about SNAP benefits or WIC benefits as well, or a flight arriving on time, or, government employees being paid. These are real consequences, and I think it's important for reporters to remember the real consequences of a shutdown that presses on.
Is there anything else that you would like our viewers to know now about this story or developing coverage?
No, it'll be interesting to continue to cover it. We'll see if anything comes to fruition over the weekend. But Mike Rounds shared tepid hope with our colleague Sidney Hoyer that maybe, in his words, cooler heads will prevail. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And it'll continue to be interesting to see how the different sides, and then the White House as well, try to bring this to a conclusion.
Dan, thank you so much for being here at the Digital Desk to share more details. And everyone stay around because we have more trending topics to get to on Inside the Newsroom when we come back after the break. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. People flying out of the Sioux Falls Regional Airport are boarding their flights with some unease about whether or not they'll be able to return home on time. The FAA is reducing the number of flights in and out of the country's 40 largest airports due to the ongoing government shutdown. Perry Groten found out what this means for air travelers in KELOLAND.
John Kaditz and his wife are heading to Phoenix a day later than planned after the Watertown couple's flight was canceled on Wednesday.
What are you going to do? We got to pay for a room tonight. Hopefully we can get out today.
Air passengers flying out of Sioux Falls expect more cancellations and delays due to the government shutdown.
Kind of concerned on our way back. We're coming back on Sunday, and I think the delays are going to start happening Friday-ish. So we'll see how that works.
Jesse Marsh is heading back home to North Carolina following a pheasant hunting trip to South Dakota. He flies a lot for his work.
Probably, 4 or 5 times a month. Yeah, so I'm sure it'll affect me. I got to fly in 2 weeks, so I'm sure it'll affect me for that.
Air travelers we spoke with say they can see the logic behind the flight reductions, even if it means more cancellations ahead.
Safety first, I guess. So that's what, you need to think about. The air traffic controllers, and their job is stressful anyway.
Passengers say they want to see lawmakers in Washington come to an agreement and end the shutdown. Otherwise, their travel plans will remain up in the air.
Hopefully they can get it figured out sooner rather than later.
And Perry Groten joins us at the digital desk now to talk more about this story. Perry, I want to start off by asking, how did you find yourself creating an angle for this piece? Like, did you know what you wanted to find before you went out, or did your story just shape based off of the interviews that you got?
Yeah, most definitely. I wanted to get some reaction from air travelers locally here about the FAA's plan to reduce so many of these flights across the country at the nation's 40 largest airports. They want to, I believe today it's starting at about 4% cutbacks in flights, and at some point they're going to reach about 10% reduction. So that's going to have quite a big impact on travelers all across the country, and including here in KELOLAND.
Was there anything that kind of surprised you from the people that you talked to? Because you did speak to a lot of people.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of people. They all had an opinion about it. Sometimes when you're flying, especially for leisure or for vacation, you kind of tune out the news. But they were pretty locked in. They had a very big interest in what was going to be happening with the status of all these flights across the country.
Right. In your tag from the story that aired, yesterday, it said that you ran into a lot of people that were flying to Las Vegas. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, we ran into one family from Sioux Falls who were taking the Allegiant flight to Las Vegas, and they knew what was going on. They weren't too concerned because theirs was a direct flight, so they wouldn't have to deal with any large hub issues. But one of them said they said, if we're stranded in Las Vegas, hey, that's great. We spend one more day in Las Vegas. That's fine with them.
I like a little joke that went into that. Yeah. But with man on the street stories like this, and this is what we call it when we just find people to speak out about gathering reaction. It's fun. Did you get a lot of no's?
No, not really. No, sometimes there's a little trick involved, and sometimes if you look them in the eye and they smile back at you.
Then you know.
Then I can reel them in.
Oh gosh, that sounds like something similar to like school when you look at the teacher, then the teacher's going to call on you type of thing.
Yeah.
But with man on the street stories, I also believe you never know what you're going to get out of your interviewees or the reaction that you're going to gather. So what kind of elements do you try to bring to an interview that helps gather that reaction out of people, whether it's setting up a comfortable interview space or short, quick questions? How do you like to go into man on the street interviews?
I like to get them in the practice of saying yes. I'll just come up to them and say, "Hey, are you flying out of the airport?" Yes, and that kind of gets them in the habit of saying yes. And then, "Hey, can we interview you? Put you on camera?" And they'll say, "There's a good chance they'll say yes."
Yeah,
it's all very psychological.
Perry working his magic over here for
That's
stories. Right. I'm glad we get a little bit of a laugh out of this story, even though, we are looking at the impacts of the federal government shutdown.
It's going to be a big hardship on a lot of air travelers.
Right. As we now are in the 38th day, we just had Dan Santella on talking more about some impact and some reaction from the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune. But is there anything else that you would like our viewers to know about this specific story, Perry?
I would just say, plan ahead, have a plan B in place in case your flight, in case you do get stranded at an airport.
Well, Perry, thank you so much for sharing all of your details here at the digital desk with me. And everyone, stick around. We still have more to get to on Inside the Newsroom when we come back after the break. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Wouldn't be an Inside the Newsroom ending segment unless we had Scott Munt join us.
Ending segment? It's time to wave already.
No, not yet. Not yet. We have to yap just a little bit, just for funsies.
Yeah. Are you ready for this weekend? The cold air. I know how much you love the cold.
Staying positive.
Yeah, staying positive.
I'm going to smile this entire segment.
And that's all you're going to say about it.
Yep, that is it.
Okay.
You can go ahead and say whatever you'd like, and I'm just going to smile.
How about our first measurable snow of the season?
I did notice that you said that on Whether or Not today.
Yes.
Just like the first chance for accumulative snow. And I was like, wow.
How about the coldest air of the season? It's not saying anything, just smiling.
Just a good old smile.
How about warmer weather next week?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Got something response out of you.
And the crowd goes wild.
Crowd love it.
Looking for our karaoke segment still, Scott.
So we'll get some snow. We'll get some light precipitation. Some of us will get some rain, And maybe an interesting day tomorrow. You can wake up to snow on the ground.
I'll reenact it.
Okay, and you look out the window and then I'm going back to bed. Okay, you see your snow, you go back to bed. You wake up from
later.
that, second sleep.
I wake up next week.
And then it's gone. You won't see it. But yes, we'll have snow in the morning, and some areas will see it when they wake up. Temperatures will warm, upper 30s, lower 40s during the morning hours, maybe even into the early afternoon. So I think whatever snow you have, that will start to melt. Also melt from the bottom up because the ground temperatures will still be fairly warm. And then the cold air pours in Saturday night, Sunday. The coldest morning will end up being Monday morning. Yes. Monday morning when you head back to work, I guess you'll be calling in sick. We'll know why you're not feeling well.
You don't see me Monday, you'll know why.
Yeah, we'll know why. And then after that, it's Monday's still cold, but after that, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, temperatures back above average. 50s, will probably hit the low 60s at the end of the new work week, and some of that will even spill into maybe the following weekend.
All right. Well, I will say for my place, we have started making room for the Christmas tree to be put up. So maybe this weekend is the time. Well, I guess we got to wait for Thanksgiving, huh?
So you won't put it up before then?
I forget if we do that or not usually. I think at my last place, I had a tree up, but we did more like fall decor on it.
Yep, we have one downstairs like that.
Yeah, and it was like leaves or just like some things that, like little sparkly stuff, that
Melanie has leaves in there, also put like little pumpkins in there.
That's cute.
I think they're white pumpkins.
Yeah, same. Like we had like a lot of neutral colors, I think, on that tree last year. And then after Thanksgiving, you deck it out. You deck the halls.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then we'll get the bigger tree. We'll put that one upstairs.
Make it real festive.
And then that we'll put our ornaments on there. We'll do stuff. All the decor on the inside of the house will be Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. The outside lights, I think I mentioned to you that I draped the fence in the backyard with outside lights. Now, those will probably stay up until March.
As they should.
Because it's good light for the dogs. And then I'll probably do the outdoor Christmas stuff maybe next weekend.
Okay. I like that you're going to keep the lights up for March because it's like an aesthetic thing, It doesn't have to be just a festive thing.
Yeah, we did that last year, and they're white lights.
Yeah.
They're not the multicolored lights. They're
But they
the white
could
lights.
Be. When you throw those backyard
Well,
bashes.
I don't know if they could be or not. I need to get permission to do that.
Oh, the wife?
Melanie, yeah. The wife.
The woman of the house must say.
Yeah, but I put them up, what day was that? Just a couple of days ago. I didn't tell her.
You said that.
And then she got home. She said, "Oh, you put the lights up. They look so good." I'm like, well, I did it rather quickly just to get them up and out there.
You know what we should do? We should have like a jar that's here at the digital desk, and we call it the Melanie jar. So whenever Melanie is mentioned,
name drop.
We could just marble it up. And then when it gets to the top, Melanie owes us a pizza party. I think that's what it should be.
Or maybe she'll show up.
That would be amazing. I did talk, I think it was with Tom Hansen before, and he brought up, like, if I brought Carmen on, like his wife, and then seeing, like, and I was like, oh, what a fun Inside the Newsroom it would be if I just had the partners and spouses of everyone from the newsroom. But then I was telling Tom, I would have them sit, like, right over here so that they could hear it. But no mic. They're not allowed to talk. But the spouses, they're the one that
are you trying to cause trouble? You just stirring that pot? Is that what you're thinking about?
Just want a little drama. Just a little.
Wow, I see what you're getting at.
I'm just yeah, this is actually my hidden way of saying that we're going to do that, but it's just you and Melanie.
Okay.
That's the hidden way of saying it. I'm actually excited for this weekend. I'm ready for some positive
But you're
vibes.
Staying here, right?
Yeah,
you're
I'm staying in Sioux
town.
Falls for like the first time in forever because I'm always traveling. I always got somewhere to go.
Yeah, well,
something to do.
You're busy.
Yeah,
there are weddings to go to.
I had a lot of weddings in October to go to, which is great. How wonderful, bringing people together and families together. But now,
fall weddings are the best.
They're so popular now too,
especially around October 2nd.
Where's the Melanie jar?
Yeah, I didn't say it.
That counts as a Melanie jar.
Yeah. Anyway.
A Melanie jar moment. Okay, Scott, I think we need to wrap up this segment.
Okay, we're done. Well, have yourself a great weekend.
Yeah, Scott. And make
Stay
sure you watch
warm.
Boredom Busters, Scott. I know it's your favorite show. Your favorite show, right?
What's going on?
What's going on? DJ MP's coming back.
Oh, boy.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching Inside the Newsroom. Until next time, have a great weekend, everyone. See ya.
Wave. Here we go.
Yeah, the wave.